Welcome to Void Realities, a place where the noise fades and the universe whispers you to sleep, living longer by moving faster. The gentle unfolding of time. You drift into the thought of a universe that never stops breathing outward. Galaxies slip away like lanterns, carried by an invisible tide. You are part of that tide, your atoms moving gently with it. It is not a rush, but an endless sigh. You close your eyes and feel the quiet weight of the present moment. Not the hour, not the minute, just the gentle hum of now. Around you, the night is still, but the universe is not. It moves in ways so vast and slow that even a lifetime cannot measure them. Somewhere beyond the reach of your eyes, galaxies drift apart. Their light travels toward you across billions of years, like messages written long before your ancestors first spoke. Each one floats in its own sea of space, pulled by nothing you can see. Time is not something you can touch, yet it is the ocean you swim in. It flows forward whether you feel it or not, and your life, like a small boat, rides on its surface. The days and years you know are only local ripples in a much greater tide. You may imagine time as a line, neat and straight, a ruler that marks each moment with precision. But time is not rigid. It bends. It stretches. It folds in ways that would surprise you if you could see it. The seconds on your watch are not the same seconds everywhere. High above you, on the peaks of mountains, or in the orbits of satellites, time flows at a slightly different pace than it does here, in the quiet valley where you rest. The difference is small, but it is real. Physicists have measured this with clocks so precise they could keep perfect time for millions of years before drifting. Place one of these clocks on a tall tower, and it will tick ever so slightly faster than an identical clock at the base. It sounds impossible, but this is the nature of our universe. Time is woven into space itself, and gravity pulls on both. The stronger the pull of gravity, the slower time moves. If you could stand on the surface of a neutron star, with its crushing gravity, each heartbeat would stretch into something longer than you have ever known. If you could drift in the emptiness between galaxies, time would pass more quickly, the seconds flowing freely without the anchor of a nearby mass. You live in a gentle middle ground, not crushed by extreme gravity, not floating in the weightless desert of deep space. Here, time is steady enough for your days to have meaning, but flexible enough that small shifts can be measured. This idea that time can move differently depending on where you are and how you move is not just theory. It is called time dilation, and it is the quiet key to one of the universe's most subtle mysteries. For now, you don't need to chase equations or symbols. Instead, picture a river. Upstream, the water flows faster. Downstream, it slows and spreads wide. Where you stand in the current determines how quickly the water touches your feet. Time behaves in much the same way, and you, right now, lying still, are already moving faster than you realize. The Earth spins beneath you at hundreds of meters per second. It carries you around the sun at nearly 30 kilometers per second. The sun, in turn, sweeps through the galaxy at an even greater speed. You are riding layers of motion, and each of them shapes your personal experience of time in ways you never feel. It is strange to think that you could be moving so fast and yet feel so still. That is the comfort of your human scale. Within the small world you know, a bed, a room, a familiar sky, time feels constant. You can mark it with the rise and fall of your breath, the quiet beating of your heart. But out there, in the scale of stars and black holes, time's pace is not fixed. It is elastic. It stretches for those who move quickly, and it slows for those who are bound by heavy gravity. The universe does not rush. It expands slowly, gracefully, a breath drawn over billions of years. Every distant galaxy is like a lantern on a black ocean, its light drifting farther away from every other lantern. This slow separation is not because the galaxies move through space, but because space itself is growing. When you watch the night sky, you are not seeing it as it is now. You are seeing the past, light that has traveled for years, centuries, or millennia to reach you. Some of the stars you see may no longer exist, but their light is still here, a ghost of what once was, proving that in the universe, nothing is truly instant. Even here on Earth, light takes time to travel. The sunlight warming your face left the sun more than 8 minutes ago. The glow from the moon began its journey just over a second before you saw it. Everything you perceive is always slightly delayed, as if the present is always catching up to itself. And so you begin to wonder, if time can shift, if the present is not as fixed as it feels, could you learn to step gently between different versions of it? Could you move in such a way that you gather more time for yourself? It is a thought both simple and profound. Living longer, not by changing your body, but by changing your relationship to motion and gravity. The physics suggests it is possible, small and subtle on human scales, but undeniable in the quiet mathematics of the cosmos. This thought is not meant to be hurried. Like watching clouds drift, it asks for patience, for the willingness to see what is always moving but rarely noticed. You begin to sense that time is not an arrow at all. It is a fabric, and you are woven into it. Your movements, your place in the universe, tug gently at its threads, changing how tightly or loosely they are pulled. The realization is calming. You are not separate from time. You are made of it. Your life is not something carried by the current, but part of the current itself. You imagine holding two clocks, one in your hand, one placed far away. You watch them tick in perfect unison, but know deep down that if you could measure closely enough, you would see a difference, a tiny gap, the whisper of the universe telling you that time is personal. And if time is personal, then perhaps your own journey through it can be shaped in ways you never imagined. You feel the thought settling in, a seed that will take root in the next moments. The question will grow in the next chapter. If two clocks can drift apart, what does that mean for the people who carry them? Clocks in the sky, clocks on the ground. You picture two clocks, one held in your hand, the other drifting high above the earth. They seem the same, they're ticking steady and true, yet over time, their rhythms quietly drift apart. In this chapter, you will follow their journey and uncover what bends the flow of time. The two clocks begin as twins. They share the same heartbeat, the same measured tick, as if each second is a note in a song they both remember perfectly. One clock stays with you, resting in your palm, warm from the heat of your skin. The other rises, carried away on a journey, perhaps in a weather balloon, perhaps riding quietly aboard a satellite. At first, there is no difference. You look at one, then the other, and they seem to agree completely on what time it is. But time has its own subtle ways of disagreeing with itself. High above the earth, the second clock lives in a gentler gravity. It is farther from the planet's center, so the pull of the Earth's mass is slightly weaker. You cannot see this difference, but the clock can feel it. It ticks just a little faster than the one you hold. Here on the ground, your clock is bound more tightly by Earth's gravity. It holds on to each second a fraction longer, as if reluctant to let it go. The two clocks, once perfectly in step, begin to drift apart, not in leaps, but in whispers. Physicists have tested this in the real world. They have carried atomic clocks up mountains, placed them on airplanes, launched them into orbit. When the clocks return, they no longer agree perfectly. The difference is small, measured in billionths of a second, but it is real, and it proves that time is not the same everywhere. It is not only gravity that shapes the clock's disagreement. Motion does it too. The faster something moves, the more its own time slows. This is another form of time dilation, born not from the weight of a planet, but from the strange rules of motion at high speeds. Imagine a beam of light bouncing between two mirrors. On your clock here on the ground, the beam moves straight up and down, taking a fixed amount of time for each bounce. But on the moving clock, the one racing through the sky aboard a plane, the light's path is longer. It still moves at the same constant speed, because light never hurries or slows for anyone, so the longer path means each bounce takes more time. The moving clock falls behind, not because it is broken, but because this is the way the universe keeps its rules. If you could hear the two clocks ticking, the one in your hand would keep a steady rhythm, while the one in the sky would speak just a touch more slowly. It is not a rhythm you could dance to. The change is too small, but it is there, and it adds up over great distances, over long stretches of time. This is not magic. It is not even hidden. It is the structure of reality, woven into the fabric of space and time themselves. In the quiet night, you imagine holding the two clocks close again, placing them side by side after days apart. You expect them to click in harmony, but there is a gap, tiny, invisible to your eyes, yet undeniable to the instruments that measure it. That gap is a story. It tells of where the clock has been, how fast it moved, how far it climbed away from Earth's embrace. It tells you that time is not an absolute river, but a series of local streams, each flowing at its own pace. You are not separate from this truth. Your own body is a clock. Your heart, your breathing, the slow division of your cells, all are bound to your personal stream of time. When you travel quickly, or when you live in a different gravity than someone else, you are following a slightly different river. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station experience this in both directions at once. They are farther from Earth, so gravity allows their time to pass a bit faster. But they are also moving very quickly, over 28,000 kilometers per hour, so motion slows their time down. These two effects nearly balance, but not perfectly. The result is that astronauts return to Earth just a fraction of a second younger than they would have been had they stayed here. It is a strange kind of travel, not through space alone, but through time. And it is happening to you as well, though on a much smaller scale. Every step you take, every change in height or speed, is a tiny adjustment in your personal timeline. You are always moving through space and time together. Your path a curve called a world line, unique, unrepeatable, yours alone. You think again of the two clocks. If they can drift apart so easily, what does that mean for the people who carry them? If one twin travels far into space and returns, they will be younger than the twin who stayed home. This is not science fiction. It has been measured, calculated, and proven. It changes how you think about life, not as a fixed length carved in stone, but as something shaped by motion, by place, by gravity itself. You look up at the night sky and imagine thousands of clocks, in satellites, on ships, in pockets, and on wrists, each ticking according to its own experience of the universe, each one telling a slightly different truth about what now means. And you realize that now is not a single moment shared by all. It is a web of moments, woven together, but never perfectly aligned. When you speak to someone, you are already hearing them from the past, their words carried to you at the speed of light or sound, their body ticking in its own quiet rhythm. You begin to feel the shape of the next question. If time itself is so personal, how can we even say what is real right now? How can there be one present, one shared truth, when every clock disagrees, even if only by a breath? The thought is not unsettling, it is freeing. It means your life is not just a drop in the river of time, but its own small stream, its own gentle course. And somewhere out there, in the silent expanse of the sky, the other clock still ticks, faster in some ways, slower in others, a reminder that time is not absolute, but a companion that walks beside you, sometimes ahead, sometimes behind. You hold your clock closer, feeling its steady beat. It feels constant, but you know now that constancy is an illusion. The truth is deeper, more layered, like the quiet hum beneath a piece of music. You close your eyes, letting the idea settle like mist over a still lake. Two clocks, two truths, both correct. The universe allows for this difference, because the universe is not built on sameness. It is built on relationships, between motion and rest, between gravity and distance, between the observer and the observed. The other clock drifts farther away in your mind, becoming a small light in the sky, and you wonder what would happen if you could move faster, much faster, fast enough for the difference between you and the other clock to grow not in billionths of a second, but in whole days, months, or years. The relativity of your every step, your footsteps, your heartbeat, your blinking eyes, all unfold in your own stream of time. When you move faster, that stream bends and stretches in ways you cannot feel. Your body is both the traveler and the clock, and every journey, no matter how small, changes how you meet the future. You stand still for a moment, letting the quiet settle in your chest. The air feels heavy with stillness, yet you know you are not truly still. The earth turns beneath you, carrying you eastward. It circles the sun, which sweeps through the galaxy, which itself drifts through the greater darkness. Even now, as you breathe slowly, you are moving through space at incredible speeds. But this motion is so constant, so shared, that it does not feel like motion at all. The relativity of time, the way it changes with speed and gravity, is not only for satellites or spaceships. It is woven into your own every step. Your body is a clock, not a mechanical one with gears and hands, but a living clock whose ticks are heartbeats, whose seconds are breaths, whose hours are cycles of thought and sleep. Every time you take a step, you move through a slightly different curve of space-time than you did a moment ago. The difference is impossibly small for human senses, but it is there, measurable with the right tools. You imagine walking across a room. To you, it takes perhaps 5 seconds. To someone watching you from far above, those same 5 seconds might be just a tiny bit different, a fraction of a fraction shorter or longer, depending on your motion, your position, your path through the fabric of the universe. Relativity is not a distant, exotic phenomenon. It is the quiet adjustment the universe makes to keep its laws unbroken. When you move faster, your time slows just enough to make sure that the speed of light remains the same for you as it is for everyone else. It is a trade-off so perfect you can walk through your life never noticing it at all. But the universe notices. It keeps your time and space balanced the way a tightrope walker keeps their arms extended, making small, constant adjustments you never see. Picture a marathon runner. With each stride, they move faster through space than someone sitting in the stands. The runner's time, the personal clock written into their heartbeat, their cells, their every thought, ticks just a little slower than the spectators. The difference is so small it would take extraordinary instruments to detect, but it is there all the same. It is humbling to realize that speed does not just change where you are, it changes when you are. You could run for a lifetime and still only gain an extra fraction of a second. But that fraction is enough to prove the point. Time is personal. The same is true for gravity. Climb a mountain, and you move into a slightly weaker gravitational field. Your clock will tick a little faster than it does at sea level. Live high above the earth for long enough, and you will arrive at the future ever so slightly ahead of someone who lived all their days in the deep pull of the valley. Your steps are small compared to the speeds of satellites or the heights of mountaintops, but they follow the same rules. Each path you take is a new thread woven into your personal timeline. You begin to imagine your life as a braid, each strand a slightly different pace of time, woven together into the person you are right now. The moments when you were still, the moments when you were in motion, the moments when gravity held you more tightly, the moments when it let you go. All of them are preserved in the fabric of you. The science of this is simple to state, yet endless to explore. Motion slows your time. Gravity slows your time. Distance from gravity speeds it up. These effects are usually too small to matter in daily life, but they are always there, quietly working. Like background music you can only hear when the room is silent. And sometimes they do matter. Your phone, your GPS, your navigation apps, they all depend on satellites whose clocks are corrected for both their speed and their height above the Earth. If we ignored these tiny shifts in time, our maps would send us miles off course within a day. Every step you take is part of this same reality. The technology that guides you works only because it understands that your step is not the same as the step of someone in a different place or moving at a different speed. This knowledge changes how you feel about walking. You are not just crossing a room or a street. You are changing the way you meet the future, even if only by the smallest measure. Think of the astronauts again, living months aboard the International Space Station. They orbit the Earth at over 17,000 miles per hour, their personal time slowed by speed, but quickened slightly by their greater distance from Earth's center. When they return, their lives are out of sync with ours by less than a second, but the difference is real, etched into every atom of their bodies. Your own steps are much slower, but the principle is the same. With every move, you stretch and compress your personal timeline in ways that belong only to you. And if every step changes your relationship to time, then your whole life is a map, a record not only of where you have been, but of when you have been. This thought makes you wonder, could someone trace your life not by miles traveled, but by seconds gained or lost? Would they see the mountain paths, the airplane flights, the quiet nights, lying still beneath the pull of the earth? And if they could, would it change the way you see yourself? Would you live differently, knowing that even your smallest actions are written into the flow of time? The night is quiet around you, but in your mind, your steps echo. You picture yourself walking along a long, winding path, each footfall shifting you by the smallest amount into a different future. You know now that motion is not just about going somewhere. It is about changing the way the universe keeps track of you. You pause in this thought, as if standing on a small hill between valleys. One valley is the past, all the steps you have taken, all the ways your time has been shaped. The other valley is the future, the steps you have yet to take, the seconds you have yet to bend. And between them is this moment, still, quiet, your heart ticking in the only time it has ever known. Trains, beams, and the light that waits for no one. You step aboard an imaginary train that never slows. Outside, the world rushes past, yet a beam of light beside you stays constant. To keep that light unchanged for everyone, time itself must bend. And in that bending, you glimpse the quiet architecture of reality. You close your eyes and imagine it. A long train, steel and silver, gliding forward without the slightest shudder, its wheels humming in a perfect rhythm. You take a seat near the window. The countryside blurs past, trees bending into streaks of green, clouds drifting as if reluctant to move. Now, inside the carriage, you hold a small lamp, a source of pure light. You switch it on, and a thin beam shoots toward the ceiling, straight and unbroken. You expect that beam to behave the same, no matter what speed the train is moving. And it does. Whether the train crawls through a station or races faster than sound, the light still takes the same time to reach the ceiling. This constancy is not just a trick of the imagination. It is one of the universe's deepest promises. Light always moves at the same speed, for everyone, in every direction. But if this is true, something else must give way. Because if the train is moving, shouldn't the beam travel farther, slanting slightly as the train carries it forward? It does travel farther, yet the beam's speed does not change. Instead, time itself bends to keep the promise. Imagine watching from the platform as the train passes. To you outside, the beam takes a longer diagonal path to reach the ceiling. But since the speed of light cannot change, the only way for the beam's journey to work is for time on the train to slow down, just enough to keep the math of the universe balanced. This is relativity at work, space and time adjusting themselves so that light can remain the same for all observers. Inside the train, you feel nothing unusual. The beam still seems to move straight up and down. Your heart still beats in its familiar rhythm. But from the outside, an invisible shift is happening. Your seconds are stretching ever so slightly, keeping pace with the rules that govern all motion. This slowing of time is not reserved for beams and trains. It happens in every act of motion, from the smallest shuffle to the swiftest flight. The faster you move, the more your time stretches, compared to someone at rest. It is an effect so gentle at walking speeds that it would take centuries to notice. But as you approach the speed of light, it becomes impossible to ignore. Physicists explain this with simple diagrams and equations, but the truth is more poetic. The universe is like a careful conductor, keeping all its instruments, space, time, light, in perfect tune. If you insist on moving faster, the conductor slows your personal tempo. Your moments are drawn out, like notes in a song played in a softer, slower key. You remember the two clocks from before, one in your hand, one high in the sky. Now you see them again, but one of them is not just in a different place. It is moving at great speed. The gap between their times grows larger, no longer measured in billionths of a second, but in something you can feel. This is how astronauts traveling at near light speed would return home, younger than those they left behind. The light they carried with them never changed its pace, so their own time had to change instead. The idea feels strange, but it is deeply natural to the cosmos. Light is the same for everyone, so time must be personal. You picture another experiment. Two mirrors facing each other, a beam of light bouncing between them like a pendulum of brilliance. When the mirrors are still, the beam's path is short and simple. When the mirrors move, the path becomes longer, but the beam still keeps its perfect speed. The only way for both stories to be true is for time itself to adjust. And so it does, effortlessly, silently. You realize now that every fast-moving train, every racing plane, every spinning satellite carries its own slightly altered rhythm of time. Not wrong, not broken, just unique to its journey. Even here on Earth, we are all on our own trains. Some move quickly, some slowly, some feel still, but are carried by great emotions they cannot see. The beam of light that guides us all waits for no one. So time shapes itself to make sure it always arrives on cue. The quiet beauty of this truth is that it applies to you. Your own life is a moving carriage. Your light, your experiences, your thoughts must always reach their ceiling at the same universal pace. And so the seconds you know are already tailored to your motion, whether you are aware of it or not. You glance around the train in your mind. Other passengers sit reading, their clocks ticking in step with yours. But someone on the platform, watching the train speed by, would see those same clocks moving slower. They would see your moments stretching to protect the one thing that never changes, the speed of light. This constancy is not cold or mechanical. It is the foundation that makes reality possible. If light were not the same for all, causality itself, the chain of events, would crumble. What is before and after would blur, and the universe's story would lose its coherence. Instead, the rules hold. The train glides forward, the beam reaches the ceiling, and both the passenger and the observer outside are correct in their own way. They see different stories, but both are true. It makes you wonder, how many other truths in life are like this? Not contradictions, but perspectives woven together by a deeper order you cannot see directly. The train in your mind begins to slow. The countryside comes back into focus. You step down onto the platform, carrying with you the knowledge that motion is not just a change of place. It is a negotiation with time itself. Your every journey, whether across a room or across a galaxy, is shaped by this invisible agreement. Light will remain steady, and time will bend itself to make it so. The thought is calming, almost comforting, as if the universe has set its boundaries not to restrict you, but to hold you in place so the story can unfold without tearing. You look toward the horizon. Somewhere out there, others are riding their own trains, their own beams of light, their own stretched or compressed moments. And though you will never see their seconds, you know they are as real as your own. Astronauts who return. Younger far above the Earth, astronauts drift in a world without weight. Their days pass in cycles of sunrise and shadow, yet time itself treats them differently. When they come home, they are younger, not by much, but measurably so. In their journeys, we see proof that time is personal. You close your eyes and picture a spacecraft floating high above the curve of the Earth. It moves silently, though inside the engines hum, and every surface vibrates in the soft, constant way machines always do. Through the windows, the planet turns slowly beneath the astronauts' feet. They see continents drift past in hours, oceans glimmering like sheets of glass, clouds casting shadows the size of cities. Up here, day and night come quickly. Every 90 minutes, the sun rises and falls again. A bright flood of light pours in, followed by a deep, infinite black, broken only by stars so sharp they seem etched into the sky. Time feels different here, not because the astronauts sense it in their bodies, but because physics shapes it so. They are far from the Earth's center, and the planet's gravity pulls on them less strongly. In that weaker gravity, their personal time flows just a little faster than it does for those on the ground. But they are also moving fast enough to circle the planet more than 15 times a day. That speed slows their time down. These two effects work in opposite directions, but speed has the stronger voice. It wins the quiet tug of war, and the result is this. For every day an astronaut spends in orbit, they live a fraction of a second less than the people waiting for them on Earth. It is not enough to notice, not without precise instruments, but it is there. When they return, their clocks, both the ones they carry and the ones written into their cells, show that they are younger by the smallest measure. It is called time dilation. And though it sounds like something from fiction, it is as real as gravity itself. Think of twins. One stays on Earth. The other boards a spacecraft, travels for years at high speed, and then returns. When they meet again, the traveler will be younger, not because they aged more slowly in the usual sense, but because their journey carried them along a different river of time. This is not just a thought experiment. It has been measured in astronauts, in pilots, even in the precision-tuned satellites that help guide your phone's GPS. On the International Space Station, astronauts like Scott Kelly have lived this truth. After spending nearly a year in orbit, Kelly returned to Earth, slightly younger than his identical twin, Mark, who remained on the ground. The difference was tiny, measured in milliseconds, but it was written into reality. It is humbling to realize that you could leave the planet and return to find the people you love, just a breath older than you. And yet, this effect grows with speed. If you could travel close to the speed of light, you could spend what feels like a few years in space and come home to a world decades older. This is the twin paradox, a story told in classrooms and physics labs, but also in the quiet hum of every orbiting satellite. For the astronauts, this bending of time is not felt in muscle or bone. They wake, they work, they sleep, their bodies living in the same rhythm they always have. But outside the walls of their station, the universe is keeping score in a way that no human sense can detect. Time here is a personal companion, moving with them, never against them, but not matching the pace of anyone else. You think of the Earth below, its billions of people moving in their own streams of seconds. Some are rushing, some are resting, but all are tied to the ground's deeper gravity. Their time is just a little different, a little slower than the time flowing through the astronauts far above. And yet when the astronauts return, we meet them in the same shared moment. We shake their hands, listen to their stories, and never feel the gap in years or seconds. That is the beauty of relativity. It does not tear the fabric of life apart. It stretches it just enough to remind us that the universe is larger and stranger than our everyday senses can tell us. You imagine yourself as one of them, floating above the Earth, watching storms swirl, rivers glitter, and city lights sparkle in the dark. Each orbit is a loop through a personal timeline, carved gently away from the one on Earth. It makes you wonder, if this happens here, in the space just above our heads, what happens farther out? What would it mean to live months or years where gravity is weaker, where speed is greater, where time bends more noticeably beneath your feet? The answer, is that you would carry a different future home with you. You would return to the same place, but not quite to the same time. And in this thought lies a quiet truth. We are all astronauts in our own way. We each travel our own path through time, our steps and speeds and heights shaping the moments we collect. The difference is that, for most of us, the changes are too small to feel. For those in orbit, The changes are still small, but they are real enough to measure. You let this idea rest in your mind, like a stone at the bottom of a clear pond. The ripples of it spread outward, touching thoughts of journeys yet to come. The slow heart of the mountain. While astronauts gain time by moving far from Earth, mountains gain it by waiting. Deep inside the planet, gravity holds time more tightly. In the stillness of rock and shadow, seconds pass more slowly. Here, the weight of the world shapes the flow of every moment. You picture the surface of the Earth, alive with oceans, forests, wind and light. Now you let your mind sink below it, into darkness, into stillness, into the unbroken quiet of stone. Far beneath your feet, in the deep places where sunlight never reaches, the planet's gravity is stronger than where you stand now. It presses in from all sides, a silent weight that bends the very fabric of time. This bending is not something you can feel. You do not hear seconds dragging, you do not sense your pulse slowing. But it is there, written into the way the universe works. The rule is simple. The stronger the gravity, the slower time flows. High above, in orbit, astronauts feel less pull from Earth's mass. Their clocks, mechanical or biological, tick a little faster than ours, but deep underground, or even at the base of a mountain, the opposite is true. Gravity tugs harder, and that tug slows the passage of time. If you could live your whole life at the base of Mount Everest and your twin lived at its peak, you would be ever so slightly younger when you met again. The difference might be measured in microseconds, but it is there, real enough to be calculated, real enough to be proven. Scientists have tested this using atomic clocks. One clock is placed at the bottom of a tall tower, another at the top. Over time, the clock at the bottom lags behind the one above. The difference is tiny, less than a billionth of a second in a day, but measurable. In the heart of a mountain, this effect grows a little stronger. The deeper you go, the more the planet's mass presses down, and the more tightly it holds your seconds. It is strange to think of rock as something that can hold time, but it does. Not in the way a hand holds water, but in the way a valley holds mist. Gently, invisibly, shaping it without disturbing it. You imagine walking into a deep cavern. The air is cool. The walls glisten with moisture. Each step takes you farther from the sky, deeper into the slow heart of the Earth's gravity. Up above, the world continues at its usual pace, but here, each second stretches just enough to matter. And yet, you will never notice. Your body is in harmony with its own clock. Your breath, your heartbeat, the pace of your thoughts, all move with you, all match the seconds you are given. This is why time dilation does not feel like a delay. You cannot sense the difference without a comparison. You must have another clock, one that has lived in a different gravity, to see the gap. You think again of the astronauts, younger by motion. Now you see the mountain dwellers, older by gravity. The two stories are opposites, but they are written in the same language of space-time. Gravity curves space. It is this curvature that holds planets together, that keeps the moon in orbit, that bends the path of light from distant stars. But it also curves time, pulling seconds closer together the way it pulls matter inward. In the most extreme places, near black holes, this effect becomes impossible to ignore. There, gravity is so strong that time itself slows almost to a stop. A single hour near the edge of a black hole could equal years far away. On Earth, we live in the gentle version of this truth. Our mountains, our valleys, our underground tunnels change time only in the smallest amounts. But the principle is the same. Every point on the planet has its own clock, ticking in its own way, depending on its distance from the center of Earth's mass. Stand on the shore, and your seconds move at one pace. Climb a tower, and they move just a touch faster. Descend into a mine, and they move just a touch slower. You realize that your life is a constant dance between these differences. You have lived in valleys and on hillsides, in rooms high above the street and in basements below. Each place has given you its own invisible rhythm. These rhythms do not replace your life. They shape it. They are part of the story you are writing in time. You imagine a map of your life, not of streets or cities, but of gravity. Peaks where time ran a little faster. Valleys where it ran a little slower. A landscape of seconds, all connected by the path you have walked. The thought makes you pause. How much of yourself is shaped by where you have been? Not just in memories or feelings, but in the actual way your time has flowed. Perhaps this is another way to see life. Not as a single thread, but as a thread that changes thickness, tightening in some places, loosening in others, depending on the pull of the world beneath you. And perhaps this is why we feel differently in certain places. Maybe the weight of the air in a valley or the thinness of the wind on a mountaintop is more than just sensation. Maybe it is the body's quiet awareness that its seconds are moving at a slightly different pace. It is comforting to think that even the most still places, a hidden cave, a quiet mountainside, the deep halls beneath a city, are alive with their own slow music of time. Here, in the mountain's heart, you are reminded that the earth is not just a stage for life, it is part of life. Its weight shapes not only the paths we walk, but the clocks we carry within us. And so you stand in this thought, as if at the base of a great wall of stone. The wall does not move, but it moves you, not in space, but in time. You think of those who have lived in such places for centuries, villages in valleys, homes carved into cliffsides, temples hidden in the mountains, generations born and gone within the slow pull of gravity's hand. Their lives have flowed just a touch differently than the lives of those at the top of the world. It is a difference too small for the human heart to feel, but not too small for the universe to keep. The mountain does not hurry. It will outlast us all, and in its stillness, it holds time with a patience we can barely imagine. When your pulse meets the universe, your body is a clock ticking in its own quiet rhythm. Every breath, every beat of your heart, every blink marks your personal time. Yet the universe can stretch or squeeze that rhythm without you feeling a thing. In the meeting of your pulse and the cosmos, you find the most personal form of relativity. You press your fingers gently to your wrist. There it is, the quiet beat of your own heart, a steady pulse, marking seconds, in a language your body has spoken since before you were born. You carry this rhythm everywhere. It does not depend on watches or calendars. It is written into you, into the flow of blood, the firing of neurons, the rise and fall of your lungs. Every pulse is a second in your personal clock. It is not the same as the seconds on an atomic clock, nor the same as the seconds in someone else's heartbeat. It is yours, and it moves with you through the universe. Your body, like any clock, is bound by the rules of space and time. When you move faster, your time slows, but you do not feel it. When gravity holds you more tightly, your time slows again, but you do not notice. Your heart keeps its beat, your breath keeps its rhythm, and so to you, nothing has changed. The change is only visible when compared to another clock, another pulse, another life lived under a different sky. Imagine two friends standing side by side. Their pulses match in a shared stillness. One steps onto a high-speed craft and disappears into the horizon. The other stays behind. When they meet again, their hearts still beat in rhythm to themselves, but not to each other. One has lived just a little less time than the other. This is the quiet truth of relativity. Your body's clock will always feel normal to you, even when the universe has slowed or stretched it. The meeting between your pulse and the cosmos is constant. It happens when you walk, when you climb, when you lie still. Every change in motion, every shift in gravity is recorded in the seconds that make up your life. Think of it this way. You are never standing on solid ground in time. You are always on a moving walkway, its speed changing, depending on where you are and how you travel. Sometimes it carries you just a little slower, sometimes a little faster, but it never stops. The astronauts you imagined earlier carry their pulses into orbit. Their hearts beat as they circle the planet, but those beats belong to a slightly different time than the ones on Earth. When they return, the difference is invisible in feeling, but precise in measurement. In the same way, your body records every journey you take, not in memory, but in the rhythm of your cells, in the way they have experienced time. It is comforting to realize that your life's moments are not only defined by what you have done, but also by how you have moved through the universe's fabric. You have carried your personal time into every room, every landscape, every sky you have stood beneath. Your pulse is not separate from the universe's rules. It is shaped by them. When you climb a mountain, your seconds stretch just a little. When you descend into a deep valley, they compress. When you travel quickly, your moments lengthen. When you are still, they match the steady pace of the ground beneath you. These changes are too small to feel, but they are real. You are living proof of them. And yet, despite this, your body always gives you the illusion of constancy. No matter where you are, your heart will keep its rhythm. Your breathing will keep its pace. This is why relativity can feel so abstract, because it changes everything without changing your own experience of yourself. You are like a passenger on a boat who feels no wind, no rocking, yet moves across an entire ocean. The journey happens around you and with you, but you experience it as stillness. This is part of the beauty of being human. You live inside your own clock, your own flow of moments, even while countless other flows happen all around you. You might think of your pulse as a conversation between your body and the universe. The universe says, "This is how fast light moves. This is how gravity pulls. This is how motion shapes time." And your pulse answers, "I will keep the beat you give me." In this way, you and the cosmos are always in step with each other, even when you do not realize you are dancing. The more you think about it, the more you see that every living thing has its own clock. A hummingbird's rapid heartbeats, a whale's slow, thunderous ones. Each is a different way of marking time. Each is shaped by motion and gravity, just like yours. Even the Earth has a pulse, not of blood, but of orbit and spin, of cycles and seasons. Its seconds stretch and compress under the influence of other bodies, the moon, the sun, and the quiet, invisible pull of distant planets. You are part of this network of rhythms, woven into it by the same threads that guide the stars. And so, when your pulse meets the universe, it is not a collision, but an embrace. The rules of relativity do not take time from you. They carry you through time in the only way the universe can, a way that makes sense for you in your moment, even if it is different from someone else's. This understanding makes you feel lighter. You realize you are not bound to some rigid, absolute clock. You are free to move through your own river of time, just as others move through theirs. It also makes you wonder, if your body is the clock, what would happen if you could move it through the fastest, most extreme journeys possible? If you could sail close to the speed of light, how much more slowly would your pulse beat compared to those you left behind? The answer lies ahead, in the places where speed and gravity are no longer gentle, but fierce. Places where the bending of time becomes impossible to ignore. Racing through the cosmic sea. Even when you feel still, you are already on a great voyage. The Earth spins, orbits the Sun, and sails with the galaxy through an endless, dark ocean. Each motion shapes the seconds you live, and together they carry you farther than you could ever travel alone. You sit in quiet stillness. Your body does not sway. The room around you holds steady. It feels like you are at rest, but you are not. Right now, you are riding on the spinning skin of the Earth. Here at the surface, you move eastward at hundreds of meters every second, fast enough to outrun the sound of your own voice if the air stood still. Above you, the sky changes so slowly that it feels fixed, but this is an illusion. The sun you see each day is not a point of rest, but another ship sailing through the great dark ocean of space. The Earth carries you around that sun at nearly 30 kilometers every second, and the sun itself is part of a spiral arm of the Milky Way, sweeping around the galactic center at over 200 kilometers every second. All of these speeds combine into a single truth. You are never standing still. You are racing through the cosmic sea on a journey you did not choose, yet one that is written into every second you live. This motion changes you in ways you cannot feel. Your personal clock, your pulse, your breath, moves with the planet's motion, and so you never notice its influence. But to someone not sharing your journey, your seconds would look just a little different. It is easy to think of relativity as something that happens only in experiments, only in spacecraft, or near black holes. But you are living it right now, as the Earth carries you through the solar system, and the solar system carries you through the galaxy. You are a passenger on a ship so vast that its decks are made of continents, its sails are made of magnetic fields, and its course is set by gravity's silent pull. From the perspective of a faraway observer, the time you live on this ship is shaped by its motion. It is a journey not only through space, but through time itself. If you could step off the Earth, hovering in the stillness of space, far from any star or planet, you would see us all racing by. The continents would blur beneath clouds, oceans would sweep around in slow spirals, and night and day would pass in a continuous turning. From your quiet vantage point, you might notice that the seconds on Earth tick just a little differently than the seconds in your own stillness. Motion slows time, even the motion you are too large to feel. But you are not only moving with the Earth and Sun. The galaxy itself is sailing through the deeper dark, drawn toward a distant gravitational shore called the Great Attractor, a mysterious region pulling thousands of galaxies toward it. This movement is vast beyond imagining, yet it too is part of your own journey. Your lifetime is carried along by the galaxy's path, woven into a current that has been flowing for billions of years. These motions do not compete, they combine. Like nested rivers, each current carries you into the next, from the turning of the Earth to the sweep of the solar system to the slow rotation of the galaxy. Your own seconds are shaped by all of these at once, their influence too small to notice, but too real to ignore in the great equations of physics. It makes you wonder, if all of this motion can change your time even slightly, what would happen if you could choose your own course? What if you could ride a vessel faster than any planet or star, slicing through the cosmic sea at a fraction of light speed? You know the answer now. Your seconds would stretch. Your life would last longer in your own time than it would for those who stayed behind. From your perspective, you would be moving forward normally. From theirs, you would be returning from a journey into the future. Even here, sitting in stillness, you are already experiencing the edges of that truth. Your path is a curve through space-time, shaped by every turn of the planet and every arc of the galaxy. And though these changes are small, they remind you that you are part of something vast. Your life is not only lived in rooms and streets and cities, it is lived on the deck of a moving world, on a ship whose voyage will never end. The stars you see above you are not fixed points, but fellow travelers. Some sail ahead, some fall behind, and some are moving toward you through the dark. Every one of them is part of the same great sea, each carrying its own clocks and seconds, each living its own truth of time. You are part of that truth. The space between you and those stars is not empty. It is alive with motion, with invisible tides of gravity, with the hum of the universe keeping its own rhythm. You breathe in, knowing the air around you has also made this journey, spun by the earth, pulled by the sun, carried with the galaxy. Every breath is part of a motion so large you could never walk across it. And yet, this motion is the quiet backdrop to your life. It does not demand your attention. It asks nothing of you but to live your seconds as they come, carried forward by the ship you were born upon. The cosmic sea has no shore, no end to sail toward. Its currents do not return you to where you began. They carry you into the unknown, into new constellations, into the ever-expanding darkness where galaxies drift apart. And still, time moves with you, shaped by every wave of motion. Your seconds are not the same as those in another part of the sea, but they are yours, a gift from the journey itself. You realize now that you have never truly been still, not for a single moment of your life. From the first beat of your heart to this breath, you have been racing through the universe at speeds you can barely imagine. The edge where time breaks. Near the universe's most extreme frontiers, time does not simply slow, it nearly stops. In the presence of immense speed or crushing gravity, seconds stretch into hours, hours into centuries. Here, the rules you've come to know bend to their limits, and you glimpse the fragile edge of time itself. You have sailed the gentle currents of the cosmic sea, carried by the earth, the sun, and the galaxy itself. These motions were swift beyond imagination, yet still soft enough that your seconds barely shifted. But now, your thoughts drift to a different place, to the shorelines, where time is pushed so far it begins to fray. These are the edges where physics stretches like glass under heat, where the steady rhythm of seconds becomes elastic, pulling longer and longer until it nearly refuses to move. There are two main paths to this edge: speed and gravity. Speed you already know. The faster you travel, the more time slows for you relative to those who remain still. At walking pace, it is invisible. At the speed of light, it becomes impossible to ignore. Imagine a ship built for the impossible. It accelerates for months, then years, until it approaches light's constant speed. On board, the crew feels nothing unusual. They live, they work, they dream in their own familiar seconds. But far away on Earth, the clocks spin faster. Decades pass for those at home, while only a few years pass for the travelers. The journey becomes a leap into the future. This is not science fiction. It is a direct consequence of the universe's design, a safeguard that keeps light speed the same for all, even if time itself must bend to make it so. And yet speed is only one road to the edge. The other is gravity, not the gentle pull that keeps you on the Earth, but the crushing gravity of collapsed stars. Black holes are where gravity becomes a wall so steep and so high that even light cannot climb out once it falls in. Near this wall, time slows to a crawl. To someone far away, a clock near a black hole's edge, its event horizon, would seem to tick slower and slower until it almost stops. From the traveler's point of view, their time feels normal. They can look at their own watch and see it ticking in perfect familiar rhythm. But to the outside universe, they have nearly frozen in place. This is the true edge where time breaks. Not broken in the sense of failing, but broken in the sense of no longer matching the world beyond its boundary. Imagine you were able to approach such a place. Each step closer to the event horizon would lengthen your seconds. You could see the rest of the universe rushing ahead, stars moving, galaxies spinning, centuries unfolding in moments. And if you could step back, away from the black hole's pull, you would find yourself in the far future, the world transformed in your absence. The mathematics of this are precise, but the feeling of it is something else entirely. It is like standing at the shore of an endless ocean, knowing the waves will carry on forever. But for you, time has turned to still water. In the most extreme cases, the difference becomes infinite. At the event horizon itself, from an outside perspective, you never truly cross. You appear to hover there forever, your image frozen, your last moments stretched across eternity. From your perspective, you would fall right in, the crossing happening in a heartbeat. This divide in experience is one of the strangest gifts relativity offers. Two truths, both correct, yet forever separated. It is here, at the edge, that our normal understanding of before and after begins to blur. Cause and effect still exist, but they are no longer the same for everyone. The order of events can shift, depending on where you are and how you move through the curved fabric of space-time. And yet, despite this strangeness, there is a kind of peace to it. The universe does not rush to destroy its own rules. It allows them to stretch, to bend, to almost break, but not to shatter. You realize now that the phrase time breaking is not quite right. Time does not fracture like glass. It yields like silk in the wind, wrapping itself around speed and gravity, shaping itself to fit the moment. Black holes and near-light speeds are simply the most dramatic examples. They are the mountains and storms of the space-time sea. You can sail for a lifetime without ever meeting them, but knowing they exist changes the way you see the ocean. You think of the astronauts again, their time shifted by mere fractions of a second. Now you place them in a ship bound for a black hole, or racing at near-light speed to another star. Their journey would no longer be measured in months or years, but in centuries passing at home while they live their normal days. And yet, to them, nothing would feel different. They would still feel the warmth of their own pulse, the rhythm of their breathing, the slow stretch of their own hours. This is the most humbling truth of all. You cannot feel your own time change. You only feel the difference when you meet someone who has walked a different path through space-time. At the edge where time slows almost to stillness, the rest of the universe rushes ahead without you. If you return to a future you never lived. For some, this thought feels like loss. For others, It feels like a kind of immortality, a way to outlast entire eras without aging more than a few years. You do not need to choose how to feel about it tonight. You only need to know that it is real and that the universe has always worked this way, long before we learned to name it. You close your eyes and imagine standing there, at the edge, where time breaks. Around you, light curves like water over a fall. Ahead, the horizon is not a place, but a boundary you cannot return from. Behind you, the stars whirl faster and faster, their light blue shifted into brilliance. You are standing in two worlds at once, your own steady moments and the universe's rushing future. And you wonder, in the gentlest way, what it would be like to take that final step forward. Returning to your own clock. No matter how far you travel, you always return to the steady rhythm of your own time. The universe may stretch or squeeze your seconds, but your heartbeat is the clock you carry home. In this chapter, you come back to where you began, different, yet still yourself. You have traveled far in thought, from the still surface of Earth to the speeding decks of the cosmic sea, to the edges where time bends until it nearly stops. You have sailed alongside beams of light, stood at the bases of mountains, floated above the world in the company of astronauts. You have learned that time is not a single current, but a collection of streams, each shaped by motion and gravity, each personal to the traveler. But now your thoughts drift home. You return, in imagination, to a familiar place, a quiet room, a steady chair, a window opening onto the night. Here, the air is still. The only motion is the slow rise and fall of your breath. You look down at your hands. They are the same hands that once held the imaginary clock in Chapter 1. The same hands that imagined pressing against the glass of a spacecraft. The same hands that once reached toward the horizon of a black hole. And yet, you know, they are not the same. They are marked now by the journeys you have taken. Journeys measured not in miles, but in how you understand your own seconds. In every chapter, you carried your personal clock. It ticked with your pulse, your breath, your thoughts. It was with you when gravity slowed your seconds, when speed stretched them thin. And it is with you now, unchanged in its devotion to keeping your life in rhythm. That is the quiet gift of relativity. Your time is always yours. No matter how different it may be from another's, it feels whole, complete, true to the life you live inside it. You can stand next to someone whose seconds have moved faster or slower than yours, and neither of you will feel out of place. You meet in the same moment, as if you had always been walking side by side. This is how astronauts return to Earth without feeling the milliseconds they have gained or lost. It is how mountain climbers and valley dwellers live their lives without ever sensing the tiny differences that gravity has woven into their days. Time dilation is real. It changes everything, but it changes nothing of the way you feel your own life. In this room, you are still moving, carried by the turning Earth, by the sun's orbit, by the galaxy's slow rotation. Your seconds are still shaped by this motion, but they are also steady, anchored to the rhythm inside you. You close your eyes and listen for it. The gentle beat of your own heart, the subtle pull of air into your lungs, the rise and fall, over and over, like waves brushing ashore. No matter what the universe does to time, these moments are yours. You think of all the clocks in the world, mechanical, digital, atomic. They can measure time with precision far beyond what your senses can feel. They can reveal the differences between mountaintop and valley, between moving train and quiet platform, between spaceship and Earth. But none of them can tell you what your life feels like to you. That is the mystery and the mercy of time. It is both universal and intimate. The universe's time may be flexible, but your experience of it is whole. You open your eyes and look at the night sky. Some of the light reaching you left its source before humans walked the earth. Some of it left before the sun even formed. You are seeing the past, yet you live in the present. The stars do not rush to correct this mismatch. They allow you to hold past and present together, just as relativity allows different travelers to hold their own versions of time without conflict. And perhaps that is the lesson to take from your journey. There is no single clock to rule them all. There is only the clock you carry with you, the one that makes sense of your life as you live it. When you return from travel, whether across continents or through the ideas of physics, you bring back more than stories. You bring back an awareness of the currents beneath your days, of the subtle shifts that shape your journey even when you feel still. And yet, in the end, you return to the same place, your own time. The seconds that match your heartbeat, that flow at the pace your life has taught you to keep. You breathe in again, this time with a quiet gratitude. You have stood in imagination at the foot of black holes. You have watched light hold steady while time bent around it. You have understood that the world is a web of different clocks. And now, you are home. Home is not a single place. It is the moment you choose to stop moving, or at least to stop noticing the motion. It is the place where your seconds settle back into their familiar shape. You realize now that returning to your own clock is not about rejecting the universe's flexibility. It is about accepting it, and knowing that even in a world where time bends and shifts, you have a rhythm that is yours alone. That rhythm will carry you through every journey. It will match itself to the pull of gravity, to the hum of motion, to the curve of space-time, and still feel steady in your chest. You are not separate from the universe's bending of time. You are part of it. Your clock is one thread in the great fabric, woven alongside the seconds of stars, planets, and all who have ever lived. And so you sit here, your body in its quiet orbit around the moment, your thoughts drifting, but your seconds steady. You have returned, but you are not the same. The journey has changed the way you see the night sky, the ground beneath you, and even the quiet ticking of your own pulse. It is enough now to simply feel that pulse, to know that it is both personal and cosmic, both constant and shaped by forces too vast to imagine. You close your eyes one last time, letting the thought dissolve into the kind of silence that belongs to sleep. The universe will keep moving without you. Its clocks will keep ticking at their own speeds. But for now, you have found your own pace again. And in that steady rhythm, you rest. You, the universe, and the breath between you are not just in the universe, you are part of it. Every breath you take is linked to stars long gone and worlds yet to form. Time flows through you as much as you flow through time. In this final chapter, you find your place in the vast, quiet rhythm of everything. The journey has carried you far, across oceans of space, through the curves and bends of time, into places where seconds stretch almost beyond recognition. And yet here you are, still breathing, still listening, still anchored to this moment. You are part of something immeasurably vast, yet that vastness folds itself gently into your life. You are not an observer standing outside the universe, watching it pass. You are woven into it, thread by thread, second by second. Your body is built from elements born in the hearts of stars. The oxygen in your lungs, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood. All were forged in stellar furnaces and scattered across space by ancient explosions. When you breathe in, you draw in air that has traveled for eons. Some of those molecules passed through the lungs of other creatures, through forests and oceans, through storms and still air. Some were born in the very first moments after the Big Bang. Your breath is not only yours, it is part of a cycle so immense that it makes the ticking of any single clock feel like a footnote in a much longer story. And yet, that story would not be the same without you. You are here now, in this particular time, on this particular world. You are a chapter in the universe's own unfolding. The seconds you live are not separate from the seconds of the stars. They are the same fabric, woven differently depending on where you stand and how you move through the cosmic sea. The relativity you have explored is not just physics, it is a reminder that there is no single, absolute perspective. Your truth is shaped by your path, and someone else's truth is shaped by theirs. Both can be real, even if they do not match. This is the deep kindness of the universe. It allows for many versions of time, many versions of now, to exist together without conflict. You may wonder why this matters in the quiet of your own life. After all, you will not stand at the edge of a black hole. You will not sail near the speed of light, but you will live in moments that feel stretched and moments that feel compressed. You will know days that pass in an instant and nights that seem to last forever. You will see how time feels different when you are waiting, when you are grieving, when you are in love, and maybe you will remember that these feelings are not so different from the truths written in the physics of the stars. Time is personal. It is shaped by where you are, what you carry, how you move, both in space and in your own heart. You are not just the passenger of time, you are its co-creator. You choose how to fill the seconds you are given. You choose where to stand in the flow, whether to race ahead, to drift slowly, or to pause and let the current move around you. There is a breath between all things, a space between the past and the future where you are always free to rest. This is where your own clock meets the universe's, where your heartbeat and the cosmic rhythm align. It is here, in this breath, that you can feel both the intimacy and the enormity of your life. You are small, yes, a single human among billions, on a planet among countless others, in a galaxy that is only one among trillions. But you are also vast, made of the same matter as galaxies, moving through the same time as stars, connected to the same web of space-time that holds all things together. When you look at the night sky, you are not looking at something distant and separate. You are looking at your own history, at the ingredients that became you, at the light that began its journey long before you took your first breath. And when that light reaches your eyes, it becomes part of you, part of your memory, part of your own time. You carry it forward. The universe will go on long after you are gone. Stars will be born and die, galaxies will drift apart, and time will stretch into futures you cannot imagine. But right now, you are here. This is your segment of the story. This is your place in the great weave of time. And even if you never leave this planet, even if you live your whole life within the small radius of a familiar map, you are still traveling through space, through time, through the quiet changes that shape the entire cosmos. When your pulse meets the universe, it is not a meeting of strangers. It is a recognition, a reminder that you belong here. You are not an outsider. You are a note in the song, and the song is still being written. So you breathe, once for yourself, once for the stars that made you, once for the seconds you have yet to live. The journey is not about reaching the end. It is about living inside the rhythm, about letting the seconds carry you without rushing them forward or holding them back. And when you think of time from now on, perhaps you will not see it as a rigid line, but as something living, something that flows around you and through you, something you can move with instead of measuring from a distance. You are here. You are part of it, and the universe is breathing with you. The far future's quiet ending. All things move toward their own horizon. Stars burn out, galaxies drift apart, and time stretches into silence. Yet even in the farthest future, the universe can imagine. The memory of your moments remains, woven into the quiet fabric of forever. The journey has been long, not just through space, not just through the folds of time, but through the shapes and patterns of how you live within them. Now, we sail far ahead, past the seconds you will live, past the centuries humanity will see, past the lifetimes of stars themselves. We move into the far future. In this imagined distance, the sun has burned through its bright years. The warmth that has always held the earth in its soft cradle has faded. The oceans are gone, the winds are still, the night is everywhere. The stars around us age and die. Some collapse into dense remnants, neutron stars, black holes. Others shed their light into space for the last time, their embers cooling into silence. Galaxies drift apart, pulled not together, but away by the quiet hand of dark energy. In time, even the nearest galaxies are too far to see, their light unable to cross the widening gaps between them. It is a universe growing not just older, but lonelier. And yet even here, time moves forward. It may stretch so far that seconds feel like ages, but it still carries what once was. The atoms that were once your body still exist, scattered into other forms, traveling through the cosmos. Some may fall into a planet's soil. Some may float in a cloud of gas between stars. Some may drift alone for eons, waiting to join something new. Time has not erased you. It has only changed the shape in which you exist. In this quiet future, there are no clocks as you know them. No ticking hands, no numbered hours. Time is measured only by change, the slow dimming of light, the fading of motion. The black holes that once ruled the centers of galaxies begin to evaporate, radiating their energy into the void over unimaginable stretches of time. Even they, the most enduring objects in the universe, are not immune to the slow drift toward nothingness. Eventually, there is no heat left to share, no light to see, no matter dense enough to form worlds. The universe is a thin mist of particles moving endlessly in a vast, cold expanse. This is called the heat death, not an ending in fire, but in stillness, a place where change itself has grown rare, where time has almost nothing left to measure. And yet, even here, the story is not erased. The universe remembers in its own way. The ripples you left in its fabric, every step, every word, every breath, are part of the pattern that brought it to this moment. The seconds you lived are threads woven into this final tapestry. Without them, the picture would not be the same. And so you are here, in the quiet ending. Not as a body or a heartbeat, but as part of the history the universe carries forever. It is comforting in a way to know that even in this far, cold future, you are still present, in the paths particles take, in the echoes of light that once touched your eyes, in the gravity that once held you close to the earth. The universe is vast enough to hold everything you were, everything you did, and still have room for what comes next. Whatever form that might take. You take a slow breath now, here, in your own time, knowing that this breath connects you to all of it, the beginnings, the middles, and the far ends. You are not rushing to meet that distant horizon. You are simply aware that it exists, that it is part of the same story you live today. In this awareness, there is no fear, only the recognition that endings are just transitions, just new shapes for the same fabric. The stars above you tonight are still burning. The earth still turns. Your seconds are still yours to fill. You have the gift of now, a moment the far future will remember, because it is part of the chain that leads to it. You do not need to see the end to know it is there. You only need to live this moment in its light. The quiet ending of the universe is not a warning. It is a reminder that every moment matters, because each one becomes part of forever. You lean back, letting the thought settle, feeling its weight lighten into something you can hold. Your life is short compared to the age of the stars, but it is long enough to feel joy, to know love, to leave something of yourself woven into time. That is all the universe asks of you, to be here, to be part of the story, to add your seconds to the great unfolding. And when the last star fades, your moments will still be there, not as you know them now, but as part of the pattern that the universe will always carry. The journey that stays with you. Every voyage, whether across the universe or across the span of a thought, leaves its mark. You have traveled through the bending of time, seen how gravity and motion shape every second, and returned with more than facts. You have returned with a way of seeing. This is the part of the journey you carry forever. The path you have followed has not been one of distance, but of perspective. You began in stillness, then learned that even stillness moves, carried by the quiet turns of the earth and the larger swells of the cosmos. You have stood in places where gravity slows the seconds, and in others where speed stretches them thin. You have drifted through orbits, sailed through the cosmic sea, and touched, in imagination, the edges where time almost stops. These places are not only coordinates in space, they are ways of seeing, and once you have seen them, they stay with you. Now, in the quiet after the journey, you can look at your own life and see its time differently. The minutes of an ordinary day are no longer just the background to your actions. They are currents in the same ocean that carries planets and stars. They have texture, depth, and meaning beyond their numbers. You can walk down a familiar street and remember that you are moving not only through space, but through your own personal flow of time. The buildings, the people, the light on the pavement, all of them are ticking to their own clocks, each slightly different from yours. You can climb a hill and know that the seconds at the top are moving just a breath faster than the ones at the base. You can watch a plane pass overhead and know that its passengers are carrying away seconds just a fraction slower than your own. These are small differences, too small to feel, but they are the truth of the universe, and knowing them changes the way you think about time altogether. Time is not just a schedule you keep or a clock you check. It is the shape of your journey. It is as personal as your shadow, as constant in your life as your own heartbeat. In this way, you begin to understand that you do not simply live in time, you live with it, like a companion that walks beside you. Sometimes it walks faster, sometimes slower, sometimes so evenly that you forget it's there at all. But it is always with you, matching its stride to yours, even as the universe adjusts it in ways you cannot feel. From now on, when you think of now, you will know that it is not the same for everyone. You will know that someone, somewhere, is living in a slightly different now than yours, and that this is not strange. It is simply how the world works. There is a humility in that thought, a softening. It reminds you that no single perspective is the only one, and there is also a kind of freedom. If there is no universal now, then you are free to live in the version of now that is yours, without needing to match it perfectly to anyone else's. This is the gift the journey leaves you, the permission to be present in your own time and to see the beauty in the way others live in theirs. You can think of the people in your life as travelers on parallel paths. Your seconds overlap often, sometimes perfectly, sometimes only briefly. You share moments when your clocks meet, then drift into different currents until they meet again. This makes every shared moment more precious. It is not just a point on a timeline. It is a crossing of two unique rivers of time, something that may never happen in exactly the same way again. And so, as you step away from this long voyage, you begin to live differently. You notice the seconds more, not to measure them, but to feel them. You let them unfold without pulling them forward or wishing them away. You begin to see that each second carries both the weight of all that came before and the possibility of all that could come next. This is what it means for the journey to stay with you. You carry the awareness that time is more than a number. It is a shape, a texture, a relationship, one that exists between you and the entire universe. When you stand under the night sky now, you remember that the starlight touching your eyes began its journey long before you existed. When you watch the sun rise, you remember that its warmth is a message sent more than 8 minutes ago. When you take a breath, you remember that the air is older than your species and will outlive you by eons. These thoughts are not heavy. They are grounding. They connect you to the truth that you are part of something vast, but also that you have your own place within it. And perhaps most of all, they remind you that time is not an enemy to be outrun, nor a master to be obeyed. It is a partner, one that shapes you even as you shape it with the choices you make and the paths you take. You have traveled to the edges where time bends, and you have returned. You know now that you will never stand still, even when you are perfectly still. You know that you are carried forward by the same motions that move planets and stars, and you know that one day you too will leave your seconds behind for someone else to carry forward. That thought does not bring fear. It brings peace, because you see that the universe has room for every clock, every traveler, every journey, without asking any of them to be the same. You are part of that great allowance. Your seconds are yours to live, and they will always matter, whether they are measured or not.